Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, may I have your attention, please? Are you ready to engage in a mind-blowing experience and hear talks about life, technology, entertainment, and business? The next episode of Hipther Talks starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi everyone, Zoltan here from the Hipthers, and you are now listening to the Hipther Talks. I have with me today one of our ambassadors from the two ambassadors we actually have in the Baltic region. So today I will be speaking with Jovita Gabnienė, managing partner at Gabnys.Gabniene law firm, who I would like to ask to just give a short introduction of herself and say a few words about what you are doing.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Jovita Gabnienė. Glad to be here. Thank you, Zoltan, for the invitation. I'm a managing partner of Gabnys.Gabniene law firm, as was mentioned over here. What I do mainly is dispute resolution. So basically, I find the people, find a settlement or litigate the case. Then I also work with the fashion law. And as all we do know that fashion is very tech industry now. So I also have a strong relationship with the tech industries. Glad to be here.
We are happy to have you here at this podcast we have launched this year. So let's just dive into the quick questions, as you are the ambassador for the TECH Meetup in Baltics, a new series we are launching next year. Could you give us a short update about what are the latest developments in the tech world in the Baltics, maybe in Lithuania?
Okay, so there are quite a lot. Recently I have read that the number of startups in Europe is becoming bigger than in China now. Speaking of Lithuania, I would like to speak about the cooperation and collaboration trend we witnessed here. So, because we are used to speaking the competition at the market, but now I'd say we have a lot of focus on collaboration. In my native Lithuania, there was an association, Vienaragi, that was born this year. So this association was established aiming to share the knowledge and strengthen the ecosystem of Lithuanian startups. And this association is also collaborating from time to another organization. We have an organization called Lithuanian Startups. This organization is active since already 2017. And there are very interesting occasions to see how these institutions, two associations cooperate. For example, quite recently, there was a wrap-up of the year. It was the event of the Startup Awards. So the numbers during that event that were published seem very optimistic. I speak of the ecosystem of startups in Lithuania, and the companies that received awards work in really various tech sectors. And then we saw another interesting collaboration where the high quality model legal documents were prepared for the startups. Why I speak of this? To me, it's an interesting trend of collaboration, not only among the startups, but also among the lawyers, because quite a few years ago, I would have not imagined this collaboration, because first of all, the law firms would not have shared, this amount of information freely and publicly. And secondly, the different law firms would have not cooperated to this, this big extent. So, we have this buzz in the tech startups. They are collaborating. Law firms are helping to prepare the legal documents, and this industry seems very welcoming in the Lithuania. Also, we had some buzz around the policy towards expansion of fintech sector. In 2021, the government of Bank of Lithuania has changed. The number of licenses issued has dropped a little bit. And then there was, Lithuanian Ministry of Finance who noted about its aim to make Lithuania a legal country in prevention of money laundering, and terrorist financing. I think that Lithuania is still a country which is facilitating this industry. Lithuania as a country is very welcoming for all the startups, for all the tech companies, also for the fintech companies.
Yeah, and also Lithuania, you forgot to mention, is very welcoming for tourists as well, because it's a very beautiful country, especially Vilnius. So I'm happy to hear things are shaping up in Lithuania. But what about maybe the main challenges that are coming in 2022 in the Baltic states? Maybe you would also like have any information on Estonia?
Okay, so regarding the Estonia, there are quite a lot of changes. I think all the Baltic states have new developments, but in Estonia, we have a lot of live discussions on regulations of crypto licensing. So recently appointed head of the Estonia's anti-money laundering government agency, kind of made a statement that Estonia should scrap its current crypto regulations and start all over again. So after, this all settled down, the regulation is not going to be that strict, but a lot of serious changes are actually coming. So in September, the Ministry of Finance in Estonia has published its proposals to amend the Estonian Money Laundering Act. So, and the act is regulating licensing of cryptocurrency. If a service provider merges with a newly founded entity, he sometimes has to reapply for the license. Also, the raise in the minimal capital is tremendous. So now the threshold is 350,000 euros, which is very significant because it rose from 12,000 euros to 350,000. So that is very significant.
Yeah.
So also the cryptocurrency license holders will be required to collect data on the originator and recipient of the virtual currency transfer whenever the service is being provided as an occasional transaction outside the business relationship, whenever the value of transaction exceeds 1,000 euros. So it's also a lot of, data gathering. And I could, go so on and so on, but probably during the conference, we will be able to discuss this in more detail.
It's a significant change in terms of licensing, but when we are talking about crypto, the prices can change from day to day, maybe double, triple it, go to the moon, as the crypto industry says. Okay, so there's another little country in the Baltics, which we really like. It's Latvia. Do you have anything to add on the situation in Latvia?
Well, I've been thinking a lot. It's always very difficult, to compare the countries, and I didn't want to go up with any comparison. So about Latvia, so there are also, startup companies. This country is also welcoming. But for example, Latvian fintech entrepreneurs, so like dealing in payment in crypto, mainly do their businesses based in the UK, Lithuanian or Estonian licenses. So there is a lot of business in Latvia which is licensed, not in Latvia, just for example, in Lithuania. Cryptocurrency regulations in Latvia are not ready yet. I know that Latvia signed a declaration creating the European Blockchain Partnership in 2018. And since then, Latvia is working on virtual currency regulation, but the one is not out yet. So we are still waiting on this. In Latvia, Bitcoin is essentially perceived as a commodity or product that can be used as an exchange medium. But what's interesting is, I think, the Air Baltic case. So the Latvia's flagship company, Baltic Airlines, they decided to come as the first company in the Baltic states to accept the crypto payments. It was already in 2014. Then this company, Air Baltic, has also decided to be the world's first airline to jump on the NFTs craze, as I say. So the airline is now offering, limited NFTs on Airbus, along with the unique pieces of art promoting Latvian towns and cities. So in a way, it's a tourism promotion. We could, go on and on discussing different startups. But I think it's enough to get a sense that a lot of things are happening in the Baltic states, that the regulation is emerging, and that I would call these trends of strictening some regulation related to the maturity of the market. Sometimes when you start, you have to start from something. And then once the market grows, you already come up with more experience, with more regulations, but it does not necessarily mean that these jurisdictions become unwelcoming in some sense.
Got it. I'm so happy to see that there's a healthy business environment growing in the Baltics. So let's talk about in-person conferences, which have been starting to come back in 2021. What do you think about 2022? What is the current situation, especially in Vilnius, since you are based there?
Well, yes, we are based in Vilnius. Well, I could say that now is the season of Christmas parties. So I witness conferences happening, every week and parties every weekend. I don't want to say that, everyone is careless. No, there are some regulations that have to be followed. But in general, events are happening. Just, there are also for the organizers some requirements for the registration of people that could be informed in case of, emergency. But basically, basically events are happening. So I would presume that for the conference, we're going to have even better situation.
So let's talk about the TECH Meetup Baltics, which is a new series of conferences we are launching next year.
Oh yes, gladly. So first of all, I want to mention that I have been collaborating with Hipther PR and events agency for a few years now. So I have been not only in the online events, but I'll attend the different kinds of the real, unique boutique style events that were based, on land before the pandemics. So these events were always gathering a truly professional community, a nice mix of foreign and local representatives of tech companies, education sector, also sometimes public institutions. As an ambassador of TECH Meetup Baltics, I can say that this event has established itself online during the pandemics, and because of the pandemics, it didn't go live in the first place.
Yeah.
The virtual editions were true success. I'd say that in terms of app participants and the audience, it was a true success. I'm confident that new live conferences in the region would also be a true success. Why I speak so? I usually host in these events fashion tech panel and diversity plus inclusion panels, and they attract usually an attention to 2,000 and plus viewers. This makes me feel that the topics we are discussing are really relevant. The participants are usually very experienced, and the participants get quite a lot. We also get a lot of questions that can be sometimes answered even on the spot. So this direct involvement, you could feel it even though the events were online. So to me, this tech festival is very, interesting in the sense that it bridges the knowledge of the industries. For example, it can be even education industry with the technologies, where you can speak, how the friendship of blockchain technology and education can happen. So it's a nice bridge for different industries, for different people to communicate and meet each other.
Since we now already talked about the situation in the Baltics, we talked that there is going to be a TECH Meetup Baltics. It's time to reveal the date of this conference, which I now give you the opportunity to reveal this to our listeners and to our viewers.
Okay, that's an honor. So the TECH Meetup Baltics will take place in Vilnius on May 11th. The May 11th is the date when the weather in Vilnius is very welcoming.
It
so
is.
It's really warm then. So I do think that May 11th is a perfect day for everyone to meet up and to network and to enjoy the conference.
Yeah, so make sure to save this date, May 11th, 2022, Vilnius TECH Meetup Baltics. You can find more details on hipther.com in the events section. And thank you, Jovita, for joining me for this talk. And we will be back in February with a more lengthy talk, where we will already have the topics and some of the speakers which we can announce.
Thank you for joining. Be sure to check back next week for the next Hipther Talks and subscribe on Amazon Music, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Mixcloud and Pandora.